really cool. Feels like the Commanders are the cool guys in town here, right?
Sixers fans can't be happy about that.
I don't know. I think Joel Embiid. I think he knows who signs his paychecks. You know, he's a foreign guy. He doesn't have allegiance to a football team, so he's a Commanders fan now. That's what I think.
Love
And
it.
welcome, Joel Embiid. Welcome. Hey, come sit down
Hey,
with
you
us.
look
Chat,
great in the Wiz
chat on the
uniform.
pod.
I know that.
Oh, huh? We made it. How's the old ticker doing?
Phew.
I don't know. That was a tough one. That was a
That's
tough one, but
life as a Washington football fan right there.
you know what they say in golf? They say there's no pictures on the scorecard. You hit a slice into a bunker and then you hit a recovery shot and then somehow you still make a five.
Yep.
There's no pictures on the scorecard. All wins count the same. A win is a win. The Washington Commanders are 1-0.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
that's
about
what's taken. And it's you look around the league at some of the results, which we'll get into in a bit. Just for the 1 o'clock games, we're obviously recording this right after the game, and you know, just it's week one, and the Cardinals came out ready to play, and they're a
yeah,
professional football team, and they got some good players on the other side of that ball,
yep.
and
I mean,
yeah,
for
it
what
looked
it's
scary there for a bit. I wanted to believe, and then the deeper it got into the second half, and then Montez Sweat turned the game around. I mean,
yeah,
that sack fumble turned the game around because there was nothing that was showing you up to that point based on the momentum and the pressure they were putting on Sam Howell that we were going to able to make a long drive down the field. That short field was key.
yeah.
Short field and you getting in Eric Bieniemy's ear was key.
Oh my God. Yeah, I gotta say, we'll get into it. We're starting just generally, but not particularly thrilled with how the play calling went and the game flow went. We'll get into all that. Generally, though, like you said, that Montez Sweat sack fumble was instrumental, and Sweat just kind of he found a way to show up every time we needed somebody. And that defensive line in general, it was the four of them won that game for us without a
Yeah.
doubt. Maybe
Well, at
five
least
if you
three
want
of
to
the four.
include Hill. Smith Williams made some good plays. Hill had a
Yeah.
sack. Um, in general, the whole defensive line, that unit
They
won
were
us that
dominating.
football game without a doubt. Completely dominant. For what it's worth, Jonathan Gannon, obviously former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Eric Bieniemy, former offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. These two had weeks to prepare for each other leading up to the Super Bowl, and then the first game that they play is against each other. Jonathan Gannon's unit clearly came out better prepared, more fired up, more motivated, and for me, that's the concern with how that game went. For me, is I felt the Cardinals were flying around, flying to the football defensively, bringing a lot of heat, bringing a lot of pressure, and the Commanders looked flat. Generally,
Well,
it
I
was
think there's
a
a I think there's
uninspired performance.
I think there's a great misunderstanding that happens, and I don't necessarily think, at the end it's easy to sit there and say, and you're right, by your eye it looked that way, right?
Yeah,
But it's a professional football team on the other side of the ball. They're not intentionally trying to tank. I
hundred
know
percent.
that they acquired Dobbs late, but that kid played pretty decent football.
All things
Um,
considered,
all things considered, and I think they had to hear all week that they were just, the most popular survivor pool pick was the Commanders, right? And they were going to go down, and they were the homecoming team for the Commanders, and that momentum we talked about it in our keys to the game. Start fast, put your foot on their throat. Don't let them get on that front foot, and that's exactly what happened. And it took the defense making a huge play to kind of turn and shift that around towards our
yeah.
way and shift that momentum a bit, even though we didn't necessarily run them over after that. But you're just glad to come away with the win. I think it's probably more confusing than ever. And I want to, I want to get your input on that. And you could do it later if you want. Of like, how do you feel about this team after week one compared to how you felt before week one? And obviously, it's way too soon to react. But
Of course,
has,
yeah.
has your feeling changed about that? 10-7 prediction at this point.
I'm clueless, frankly.
Yeah,
I don't know what to think. It'll take us a little more time to marinate on it, and we'll see a few more games and how things play out. You know how Let's address the elephant in the room here, right? Howell had some really really high highs and some really really low lows,
yeah.
some really low lows, and a few things. I don't know what he was doing on that interception throw. I don't know where that ball was supposed to be going. Um, and the fumble, that is just, I mean, that's just a play you can't have.
Well,
That is just a play
the,
you
the
can't
fumble
have.
was horrendous. The pick was horrendous. I mean, in terms of the throw and the pick, those things happen.
Yeah, and
He
that
was
one
trying
I'm
to get.
willing to excuse.
It was a good play by the defender. He was trying to get him over it. It was a poor choice for sure
Yeah,
by Sam. Yeah, the fumble is something you just can't have, and I think as a young player, he can make plays with his legs. He had a couple of really great scrambles and ability to make some plays
yeah,
with his legs. The touchdown run was a thing of beauty. So I actually wrote down exactly what you said. I mean, there's another throw that could have easily been picked off that it was just, way behind the receiver.
yeah,
But there were some really encouraging plays and some really good things. And I think, he took too many sacks. He admitted as much in his post game press conference. He took ownership of that, which is Sam, which is one of the things you love about him. But that pressure for a period of time there against, I mean, is the Arizona Cardinals defensive line expected to be one of the better D lines in the league? I don't think so. So it's pretty crazy that, that our offensive line, if you look at the results in terms of 6 sacks against the Arizona Cardinals,
yeah,
3.3 yards per carry, exactly what we were worried about that could be the kryptonite of this team, that offensive line, was really the reason why this game. Now, if you want to put a positive spin on things, 3 turnovers, some bad turnovers. I mean, turnovers that resulted in touchdowns, and we still won the game. We still
yeah.
found a way to win. That's a positive. Um, so yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't know what to think. I would say, if anything, I've got a lot less confidence in that 10-7 prediction at this point.
Yeah.
You got to go by what you're going to go, and this is one of the worst teams in the league, supposedly. And maybe Ron's right. Said in his presser, he thinks Arizona will be better than we think, but we'll have to
Well,
wait and see. Um,
it's
but
easy to say that now.
I'll say it's week one,
Yeah.
and it's the first time running the offense, and EB's got to learn the identity of this team, which clearly we need to lean on the run game a little more. Um,
I mean, I just want balance, right? So I'm gonna jump in there because I think that's
right.
a really key issue for me on the offensive play calling. And you talk about that trickles down to pass protection, that trickles down to offensive line play. You got to let these guys go downhill, run the ball a little bit. I know we don't have Christian McCaffrey back there. I know we don't have Aaron Jones back there. I know we don't have Derrick Henry back there. But Brian Robinson is a capable running back. Antonio Gibson concerns me with those fumbles. Let's hope that's just a freak accident. Um, and Chris Rodriguez is a strong runner. We have enough. We need to be running the ball more, and we have to be. I mean, the play calling to me, like I had to remind myself, this isn't the preseason because in the preseason we were throwing the ball all the time, and I was telling myself, oh well, they're just trying to get Howell as many looks as they can. And then today I was like, this like we would run the ball for 8 yards and then there would be a holding penalty and then we would throw it twice and then the next drive we would come out and we would throw it on 1st and 10. I don't
Yeah, it
understand
was
the lack
clear
of
that
commitment to the run game.
they didn't commit to the run. There wasn't good balance. You're exactly right. And
Yeah,
then when they did commit to the run, you could see they shifted and committed to the run. it became obvious that all they wanted to do was run the
It
ball. I
was
mean,
totally one dimensional.
on that touchdown drive, giving full credit to B Rob. I talked about the yards per carry, but he had 4 carries for 21 yards on that touchdown drive. He was that drive,
Yeah,
other than the one play from Sam Howell, because we got the ball on the 29, which was terrific.
yeah,
So there wasn't that balance. We didn't have them off guard. They were able to tee off on Sam because we all we seemed to wanted to do was pass the ball. And then when we committed to the run, it was all run. So
yeah,
we've got to find a better balance. I agree. But again, it's the first game. Teams working to find an identity. EB's got to find an identity as that lead dog calling the offense.
yeah.
And he will. I'm confident he will. But hey,
I
we
just
got the W. It's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, but I think the play calling just seems too reactive and not proactive. It's like he's calling screens and then his screens are getting blown up, so he's calling runs and he's calling a swing screen on it with the heels on your own 20-yard line, and then it's 3rd and 7. You need to get a first down to win the game, and you call a belly up the middle. That's the time for the swing screen.
But when you
But
look, the same thing happened to the Cardinals, right? If you get when you get dominated at the line of scrimmage, it's tough to run your offense,
it's
right? And
scary. Yep.
their screens are getting blown up because of getting dominated off line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And I'll say
Anyways,
another thing: there were some bad drops in there too. Some drive changing drops. By Logan Thomas, who I know usually has sure hands, got a lot of
oof,
rust on him. People are
oof,
wanting to cut him. That's ridiculous. He was obviously getting
oof.
open, but got to make those catches right, and that creates a big problem. So,
I'm pretty over
uh,
Logan Thomas at this point, to be honest with you.
but
I don't want to cut him by any means, but I think he's at this point he's just taking shares away from Cole Turner, who
I think he'll be all
had
right.
a really nice
I
catch.
think he'll
I
be all
don't know.
right.
I'm concerned about it. Anyways, let's move on. I think you guys get the general gist of how we're feeling after that game. It's one of those wins that feels like a loss. It's hard to say otherwise, but it's a win. They all count the same at the end of the year, and
It
this
feels
is
like a
one
win
that
to me.
you're glad to have. A win is a win, right? So,
So the
couple
defense, I got just
cool.
one key stat for you. The defense had a sack or a tackle for a loss on 10 of the 11 offensive possessions by the Cardinals.
Yeah,
So realize again, Cardinals are not an offensive juggernaut. They have some pretty decent weapons in there, good running backs, some good receivers. But that's a pretty amazing stat if you think about it. I like that. That was
well,
a nice little nugget.
to quote the great Chris Rock, they did what they were supposed to do. The defense was supposed to come out and dominate the
Hey,
Cardinals,
it took
and they
over the
came out
game.
and they dominated the Cardinals. So that's what they're
Yeah.
supposed to do. When you talk about an identity for this team, I think that is the identity for the team. And we saw it result in a win today. A dominant defense, allowing our offense to be a little bit sloppy because we're trying to develop this young quarterback and we got to see what we have in him. This is how we're going to win football games until Sam Howell proves that he can overcome some of those young man mistakes. This is how it's going to get done. So strap in. We'll see where it goes. A couple cool things. Had a bunch of legends in the building, both Commanders legends and sports legends in general. You had RG3 was there, Sonny Jurgensen was there, Riggins was in the building. A lot of really cool stuff there. Josh Harris gets his first win. Josh Harris also brings out Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. Really cool. Feels like the Commanders are the cool guys in town here, right?
Sixers fans can't be happy about that.
I don't know. I think Joel Embiid. I think he knows who signs his paychecks,
Oh, for
and
sure.
realistically, it's a foreign guy. He doesn't have allegiance to a football team, so he's a Commanders fan now. That's what I think.
Love
And
it.
welcome, Joel Embiid. Welcome. Hey, come sit down
Hey,
with
he
us.
looked
Chat,
great in the Wiz
chat on the
uniform.
pod.
I know that.
Oh man, don't get me started.
He looked great.
Don't make me act up. Don't make me act up.
Of
So
course,
was
Josh
Durant for
isn't
the
going to
record,
let that happen.
but um, yeah, it was so pretty cool to see that. Obviously, sellout crowd was jumping, crowd was booing at one point.
I love it.
Um, and then
People
yeah,
are
I
going to
loved
say that's
I
wrong.
loved
I
it
love it.
too
Hold them
because
accountable.
what else are you gonna do? I mean, come on, guys, this is the Arizona Cardinals. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
This is
we got
ridiculous,
high standards.
ridiculous. So I like that. I like that attitude. Let's get into the awards. What do you say?
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, Sauce Award, we probably tipped our hand here, but it's got to go to Montez Sweat. That was
Absolutely.
one of the better individual performances I've seen since we started giving these awards out personally. I mean, Montez is just absolutely, he looked unreal out there. And from the first
Not to
quarter,
put production pressure on you, but if you could put a clip of that sack, and not only that sack, what he did in the sidelines afterwards, and you don't have to put the clip, but that's what I loved about it, how fired up he was. It almost looked like,
yep,
I don't know, at one point he was yelling at somebody in the crowd, maybe because of the booing. He got upset. I'm not sure, but I
yeah,
loved the play was unbelievable. It's the play of the game. If you got to pick one play that won the game for the Commanders, it's that sack fumble. And he had
yep,
already had a great plays before then. But I loved how fired up he got afterwards. That was great.
yep.
Turning point of the game right there.
Yeah, it was just huge. I mean, that was totally he totally bailed us out individually, and he
Yeah,
kept us in it in the beginning. Um, just an absolute dog. Montez Sweat totally deserves all the praise he's going to get. Deserves every dollar we will hopefully pay him. That's long
it's
ways
looking
away from now, but Montez Sweat for me just phenomenal performance coming off of what was a solid year last year, and we're looking at maybe we could be heading to the stratosphere with this guy this year. So would love to see that in the contract year. Helmet stickers. Speaking of contracts, first one's got to go to my guy, Deron Payne. Fantastic performance from him. He's making tackles on wide receivers in the open field, hustling, playing through the whistle. Just overall for me, seeing him come out and play with that kind of intensity and just pick up right where he left off last year in his first game back since getting paid was awesome. I love that guy. I think he's a real leader. I think he leads by example. I think he just embraces that absolute just like pit bull dog mentality you got to have on the defensive line. Huge Deron Payne fan.
I agree.
Got anything to say about that? Or that's you're good on Payne. We
You
move on.
nailed it.
All right,
Agree.
number two. Speaking of exemplary player on the defensive line, got to go to the Batman to Deron Payne's Batman because they're both Batman. It's John Allen.
Like that.
All right,
That
we
sack
got
was
two
unbelievable
Batmans
where
there.
he just clubbed him. He just clubbed
He
him
just
with his arm.
spun around. I mean, he is just and
Unbelievable.
Allen, a guy that he carries himself very differently than how Duran carries himself. Duran carries himself exactly how he plays. He's a really enthusiastic guy. Payne a little more buttoned up, a little more like, I don't want to say professional because I think they're both class professionals, but he's a little more proper on the microphone and a little bit more of he's even been accused of being a teacher's pet from time to time. And he goes out there and just unleashes the beast, just unleashes the dark side.
Yeah.
I love it.
Great
I
football
love
player.
the two of those guys together in tandem is fantastic. I think they both are greater than the sum of the parts there.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic. And then
Speaking of
third,
somebody who should get paid,
yes, this one and this guy is, I mean, it's got to be 1A and 1B between him and Montez, Cam Curl. I mean, just
phenomenal game.
unbelievable. The
Phenomenal
speed,
game.
the football IQ that this guy has is fantastic because the speed that he is able to play with, and you rarely see him caught out of position, and that's because he knows where the ball's going, he knows where he has to be, and he's decisive, and he trusts his gut, and he gets there. This kid, he is fantastic.
Led the
I
team in
love
tackles,
Cam
10,
Curl.
10 tackles. 8 of those 10 tackles were solo tackles. He was all over the field.
Yep,
He was defending passes. He was making great stops in
really
the
big,
run game.
really big pass breakup on that first.
Awesome
We go
game by
down and
Cam
score the
Curl.
touchdown, and then Arizona came back and we held them to
Yep.
3. Really big pass breakup on that there. Just in general, Curl just played a phenomenal game, and
So you'll
I
notice
think,
a theme. No offensive players get an award.
well,
Or
I mean, frankly,
0.
nobody deserves
Now,
it.
I
I
think
mean,
B-Rob probably would be the honorable mention on offense. I think he ran really
sure,
hard. And I put, any of the Lackey yards more on the line than him.
yeah,
But and that real nice touchdown, which was a great play by Sam as well. But
and that run to the run to seal the game by Brian Robinson that got held back thanks to the awful
by
tight end play by John Bates. John Bates with two
Right.
critical. The first penalty was ticky tack and I think bad, but two critical penalties at critical moments. That was the thing. This team just like, you know, it's almost like this game could have gone so differently minus a few key mistakes. If Logan Thomas doesn't have that drop early in the game, maybe a rhythm gets established. It's just there was no ability to establish a rhythm offensively because we just kept beating ourselves. We just kept beating ourselves over and over and over again. So, maybe there was some nice plays. Maybe we can see it regress to the mean a little bit next week on the mistakes, and then the offense can develop a rhythm. But we got to go while we're here talking about the negatives. We got to hit the kickouts of the game. So for us, I think in general, Pop put down here on the holy outline, Pop put down the offensive line. And I got to say, I wholeheartedly agree. The offensive line play in
Yeah.
general was just miserable. I mean, they're not
Horrendous.
getting enough push in the run game. The pass protection was solid on the first two drives and then completely fell apart. I don't know if Gannon found something in the rush that he was leaning on, or if the guys just got tired because cumulatively they're about 250 years old across the offensive line. Um, I don't know what was going on, but man, it was. I know Cosme got hurt at
Maybe
one
we should have
point.
brought some hogs out of the stand, right? They could have qualified to play on
Yeah,
our O line.
that could have helped. I mean, my goodness, like it's just. I think the fifth commenter, comment down below. The fifth commenter is going to get a tryout at guard next week. It is just that offensive line is miserable and it's scary. It is really, really, really scary looking at a 17 game season because it's not a young unit. It's not a unit you expect to get better. This is a unit of veterans that you hope can stay healthy and can provide average play. And today was far below average. Just
Yeah.
just horrible.
I mean, the only thing you can hope for is that number one, they do settle in. There's
Yeah.
four new starters on that line.
Yep.
There needs to be better continuity there. And then we talked about EB finding an identity and the play calling with the team. And so I think that play calling rhythm, like you said, giving them the opportunity to get downhill. And I didn't like, we got into play calling a little bit, but I thought, the opportunity to run more play action when we were running the ball. We seemed to do those, you know, um, I forget what you actually call them, but when you get the quarterback out of the pocket, sometimes I thought a play action pass would have been
The bootlegs.
the bootlegs,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I
Um,
hate those. I really
yeah,
did not like the bootleg game today at all.
but but Kaiser White also gets a kick of the game for hurting my quarterback for that late
Yeah.
hit. They were talking about it on the broadcast. It could have been 60 if he did about 4 or 5 things wrong on that. Total BS, hitting him late out of bounds. That's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback.
He should have been thrown out of the game. I mean, that
He
was
should have
just
been
I
thrown
I
out of the
think
game.
I think he should be at minimum fined and I think they should look into
So
suspending him. I mean,
Kaiser
that's
White
just
kick cots.
that's a
Kick
foul.
cots.
That's a foul in 1986.
Yeah.
That's an illegal hit when Mike Ditka is playing football.
Yeah. And I was and then, to
that
see
has no
him
place in the
coming out of
game.
the tent after the commercial was like, oh my God, here we go.
I just
It had to
like
have shooken him up.
I just didn't even like when I saw that hit, it wasn't even like I didn't even think about football when I saw that hit. I just thought about the human. Like that's how bad that was. And we always try to remind ourselves football players are people and we're caring about them. But when you're in the heat of the moment, you're thinking about, oh my God, our star wide receiver got hurt. Now we're going to be without him. You're not thinking about
But
the pain that guy's in.
it seemed like
That hit was so bad. I was like, oh my God, Sam, are you okay? Get
but
up, please. Like
he showed his
horrible.
toughness, right? And led the team down the field. Now, got some fortunate calls. Well, not fortunate, but breaks in
Yeah,
terms of penalty calls. I thought it was a beautiful ball to Terry.
That's a
down the
touchdown if he
sideline
doesn't
for
get
that pass
interfered with.
interference.
Yeah.
So he showed that toughness bouncing back off of that, which was, I think, good to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a unnecessary play. But it talked to what we talked about earlier. The Cardinals were flying around, and I think we started flying around, especially defensively, more so in the second half. So you could see maybe
As
somebody got
always.
into them a little bit, and lit up on them, and said, "Hey, we need to take over this game." But yeah, just a brutal hit there.
Yeah, it's I gotta say to pivot off the hit and just kind of give a general Commanders wrap up here. It's a little concerning to just see the same Ron Rivera isms rear their ugly head again. I mean, we start slow, we start weak and confused. They're not inspired. Then they come out of the half, and all of a sudden, it's like a house on fire. What are we doing differently going into the game? Why do we need to have our backs against the wall and pull off these incredibly unlikely finishes to see this team play at its best? Why can't we come out ready to fight, ready to go, and hot at the beginning of the game? There have been, 25 different quarterbacks. There have been 57 different offensive linemen. There's been one head coach. And we've seen this for the last 4 years under this guy. It is driving me. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do our 3 keys every week pregame. Every single time, my first key is going to be start fast until I see it. Because this is just, you can't start fast against the Arizona Cardinals, against Josh Dobbs, SpaceX. We can't start
Well,
fast against the aerospace engineer. What are we doing, guys? Come on.
Yeah,
so frustrating.
But again, I think it is allowing them to stay in the game. I think it was a bad spot, not making excuses for the team, but I actually didn't like the matchup. We talked about, I think you had a funny line where you said that the NFL said, "How you doing?" Giving us this matchup, but
yeah,
this team is not good enough to be a heavy favorite at this stage against anyone. Essentially, we got a rookie QB. We got a new offensive coordinator. It's the first time that he's, fully in charge of the offense.
Yeah.
It needs some time to find that identity. And yeah, in a way, we're happy you play a team like the Cardinals that you can overcome not your best performance on offense. But, I think, yeah, it's frustrating, but I don't think it's a question of they weren't as motivated as the Cardinals. I think they just tightened up because it was a game that they just felt like they couldn't lose. And that's human nature to a degree. I don't know that I put all of that on Ron. Ron was not happy after
it's
the
a
game
pattern,
for what it's worth. Fair.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about today, how I feel today.
That's fair.
He was not happy after the game. You would have thought they lost more than they won. It's not like he was giddy. So, I think it could end up being, even though it's a bit discouraging to watch this game and think about the future of the season, it could end up being the best thing that could have happened to them, a tough win like this, because they can really
sobers you up a little
what they've
bit,
got
right?
to do to want one. Sam isn't the guy yet. He's not, he's not top quarterback in the league just yet. We got to do more things to help him with the run game, with the play action game. Every offensive coordinator, what I tell you when we were texting, right? They're all the same. They all want to take out their new toys and, pass every down and run every, thing instead of just getting downhill, run game, play action, the things that could put us in a better position to win football games and help that rookie QB. So hopefully they learn from this. I would assume there'll be dogs next week. And, maybe that's a better position for us to start in, as being disrespected and, coming out. And that defense is something to be encouraged about, for sure.
Yeah, so, you got to figure they're underdogs next week going into Denver, at Denver. Yeah. This team is not good enough to pull a favorite on the road yet. But yeah,
you want to do a quick run around the league? I know we've only got the 1:00 games to comment on, but how's your fantasy team? How's your fantasy teams shaping up right now?
we're in it across the board. I'm in 3 leagues. All 3 of my leagues, I'm in it. I'm not decisively winning any of them. I don't feel particularly great about any team, to be honest with you. I haven't had anybody like break out that I didn't anticipate. Like everybody who's supposed to do well, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Patrick Mahomes, they've all done well. But I haven't had anybody who was supposed to do well, who wasn't supposed to do well, break out yet, which I don't love.
Listen, I'm only in one league against you and the rest of the family, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it could backfire on me. I ran a brilliant draft. First pick in the draft, went chalk, Justin Jefferson, but when they came back around to me, picked up Pat Mahomes and Mixon out of Cincinnati. He didn't have a great day, but also got some really good weapons beside him. So I'm feeling pretty good
Yeah.
about my boys. I only got one team, one league, but feel pretty good about it. I mean, some surprises around the league in those 1 o'clock games. Minnesota gets knocked off by, by Tampa. So, maybe your boy Baker is for real. Who knows?
My boy. Did Baker Mayfield become my boy?
I
don't
like
put
to
that.
do
Don't
that.
don't put that on my jacket.
Browns shellacked the Bengals. Joe Burrow was going against me in fantasy, so
My boy Burrow
it
had a
looked like
bad
he had
day.
a rough
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, Burrow was
Yeah.
rough. But this happened last year too. He came out slow. Was dealing with an appendectomy in the offseason last year. This year dealing with that calf strain. Joe Burrow is a guy that I'm not worried about in the long term, but you gotta wonder, he got that big paycheck. Does that
Has
change
nothing to do
things?
with it. That has
I'm
nothing to
messing
do with it. He's
around.
coming
I'm
off an
messing
injury.
around.
He'll be just fine. Your
Burrow's
Niners
good.
look good. Wow.
Pop had went ahead and took the Steelers there on the pointers. It didn't work out too
but
good for you.
I called that Lions
That was
game
tough.
right.
You did call the Lions game.
We're
You
gonna get
did
into
call
that
the
too
Lions
on
game.
our midweek pod. We'll recap our picks.
We'll recap all that. Most importantly, both Dom and Pop alive for the survivor pool, chugging
You
on
had a
through
bold.
here. I don't think taking Jacksonville over Indy was that bold of a pick, but Anthony Richardson, he might know how to play football. He looked pretty all right. He looked pretty all right out there.
I picked the Ravens.
Jacksonville
Ravens took care of
win,
business. Look,
of course.
I couldn't, I was all in on watching the Commanders game. Sometimes I'll try to switch back and forth, but didn't do much of that. It seemed like it wasn't the greatest performance in the world, but it was close there for a long time. They took care of business, so we're surviving. A bunch of people in our survivor pool had the Commanders. So I was like thinking, man, at one point there, I'm thinking, man, this could wipe out half the group. But
could have been good for us.
Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
I didn't get. Some people were saying one thing I didn't get on the survivor pool was people were saying, "Oh, I don't want to pick the Commanders this week because I might want to use them later in the season." Who else is on the schedule that you would want to pick the Commanders right now as a heavy favorite?
You never know. I mean, that's why I didn't pick the Ravens, for example. That's why I went ahead and took Jacksonville. I was like, you know what? Let me take a team that
it's my first time doing it. I'm just going to go with the sure thing when I think there is one.
I like that.
But I don't know if that's the right strategy.
I couldn't dub Washington as a sure thing this week, to be honest with you. As much as I wanted to, I was just like, it's going to hurt.
I didn't want to jinx it.
It's going to hurt so much more.
I hurt the juju.
You've only got to pick 17 teams. I think I'm going to try and just avoid picking Washington across the board in the survivor pool personally. I just don't think I want to have to be hurt.
Like I said, I don't think there's another week coming up that I'm going to feel, at least on paper anyway.
Come on, you're not going all in on Buffalo week 3. I might pick Buffalo.
There you go.
But there goes AJ Brown. Good stuff. So let's wrap this thing up. What do you say? I got to get back to my
wrap it up.
Gotta get back to my Sunday ticket quadcast.
Hey, it's a dub.
You know what?
It's a dub.
We brought home the W, and for the rest of the day, Pop, I have a little gnocchi sorrentina getting ready for later tonight.
Got sauce and meatballs going upstairs too.
Got the sauce, meatballs, the pork.
Montez, come on over. Come on over. You got the award.
There you go. Yeah, Montez Sweat is welcome. The Rob Payne.
Plenty of leftovers.
Cam Crow, welcome. Andrew Wiley shows up, we're all out of food. Let's wrap this thing up, guys. Thank you very much. I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week.